Hi, Miss Gaska here. Today we're going to go over the 8th grade 4th quarter, week 1 assignment 4.2, which is understanding the complexity of humor. Our learning targets are to write an objective summary of an informational text and to demonstrate understanding of the denotations and connotations of words related to humor. All right? Your learning strategies are going to be skimming and scanning, predicting, close reading, marking the text, summarizing, revisiting prior work, and then here for discussion groups, don't worry about that part because with the online modality, we can't really facilitate that very well. So here, for our preview, it says, in this activity, you will read an essay on the topic of humor. As you read, think about your own sense of humor and what makes you laugh. So I would like for you to take a second to jot down some notes here in the My Notes section about your own sense of humor. It doesn't have to be anything specific, but you could talk about, say, like a TikTok video that makes you laugh, or it makes you laugh when, I don't know, people fall or something. Whatever it is that you find comedic, funny voices, whatever, you would jot them down here, okay? And then we come to what I consider the most important part of your assignment, which is the setting a purpose for reading section. That tells us what we're going to do as we read. Now, you know I'm always telling you that you need to annotate your text so that you know exactly what's happening and so that you stay focused on your reading. Setting a purpose for reading tells you what you could do to annotate. So here it says, as you read, underline keywords and phrases that explain the main idea of each section, okay? So that's one thing that it wants me to look for during my annotations. The second thing I need to be able to do is circle unknown words and phrases and try to determine the meaning of the words by using context clues, word parts, or a dictionary. Simple enough stuff, not that different from what we've done before. So here we have our essay that we're going to read called Made You Laugh by Mark Tyler Nobleman. What I'm going to do is read the first 2 paragraphs with you and annotate along, and then you're responsible for reading and annotating the remainder of the essay in the ways that setting the purpose for reading has described. Then we're going to go down to the questions and I'll explain how to answer the questions correctly. So let's get started. Would you like to know Would you like to know a language everyone in the world understands? You already do, because you laugh. Any 2 people from vastly different cultures who don't speak a word of the other's language still know exactly what is meant when the other person laughs. So I think that last sentence is probably my main idea of that paragraph, because to me it describes what that paragraph is talking about, which is that any 2 people of any part of the world can understand each other when they laugh. And that just means that laughter is universal. So also, I'm going to give an example how to circle. I'm going to circle the word vastly. You may or may not already know what that means, but basically it means like drastically different or broadly or widely. So if I say it's a vast piece of land, that means it's huge, it's wide, it's broad. All right? So then here in this second paragraph, it says, think of laughter as the unofficial language of the earth. Yet how much do any of us really understand about humor? Well, it doesn't really have a particular, It doesn't have a particular main idea here, but I'm going to underline this sentence and I'll tell you why. To me, this sentence shows me the purpose of this entire paragraph, and the purpose is that it's meant to transition from one paragraph to the next section. Okay, so sometimes even if it doesn't seem like it has a clear main idea that describes everything that they've talked about, it does show you what the purpose of that paragraph is. All right? So as you continue through this essay, please continue looking for your main idea and your purpose. Your main idea and words that you don't know. When we get to the questions, this is how you're going to answer them. So the first one says, 1, key ideas and details. Why does laughter seem to qualify as a biological function? What might be the biological function of laughter? So what it's asking you here is, how is laughter like a bodily function? Biological means bodily. So it's asking, how is laughter like sleeping or eating or drinking or other things that our body needs to do in order for us to survive? And then after you answer that question, you should also answer what might be the biological function of laughter, meaning what about laughter helps our body in some way flourish or survive. And you might find those answers somewhere in the text that you just read, And if you do, I would like you to please cite that text, cite your answer, so that you can have support for what your answer is. And then number 2 says, in paragraph 7, what purpose does the sentence in parentheses serve? So for this one, you're going to have to go back to paragraph 7 and find the sentence in parentheses. Then you're going to analyze, how does that sentence in that paragraph serve a purpose? Like, what does it do for that paragraph? Does it add more information? Does it give an example? Does it provide more details? Does it ask readers to think about something? Does it inspire anybody? So think about all the different purposes it could have and what purpose it does have, and then you're going to find your answer there. And number 3, it says, as discussed in paragraphs 16 through 19, why is unplanned humor often funnier than planned humor? So you're going to go back to 16 through 19 and look for that answer. Make sure you're using evidence directly from the text for these ones, because it's giving you exactly where the answer is. So you're going to need to use evidence. Make sure you cite your evidence. Number 4, what context clues in paragraph 21 help you understand the meaning of the word retrospect? So here you're going to have to do 2 things. You're going to have to explain the meaning of the word retrospect, and then you're going to have to explain how the context clues in paragraph 21 told you that meaning. So you're going to look for words or clues that tell you basically what that word means, or at least give you a hint for what that word means. Number 5. Based on paragraphs 26 and 27, so we're given the information here, what distinction can you make between what makes children laugh and what makes adults laugh? So why might children laugh more often than adults? So here, you're going to go back to those paragraphs and you're looking for the differences. That's what distinction means. It means the differences between what makes children laugh and what makes adults laugh. And then you're going to explain why you think children laugh more than adults. Number 6 says, there are 4 known techniques for telling jokes as well as explained in paragraph 32. How do the first 2 techniques relate to narrative writing? So those techniques are, the first 2 are going to have something to do with narrative writing, which is basically the art of telling a story. You're trying to figure out, what do those first 2 techniques have to do with telling a story, okay? Number 7 says, what's the author's argument in this essay? Cite specific evidence from the text in your response. Here you're looking for what the author is trying to prove to you or show to you in some type of way. What is their main point for writing this essay? And then you're going to use specific evidence from that text in order to support your claim. Here we have number 8 that says working from the text. Referring back to words and phrases you've underlined, write an objective summary of a section of the text by putting the main ideas into your own words. Remember that a summary is a broad section or a broad overview of the text. Stick to the main points by writing about big ideas and excluding smaller ideas. So for this question, you're going to need to summarize one section of the text. And when it says section, it's not talking about paragraph. It's referring to everything underneath one of the bolded sections. So you could choose which one you want to summarize, but it has to be an entire section. When you do that, you could write it in your notes over here, and that's just fine. So here it says using precise diction to analyze humor. So it says to analyze a text carefully, one must use specific words to describe the humor and explain the intended effect. So it says to work collaboratively, but like I said before, we're going to be doing this independently, but your job is to define terms and understand to understand the nuances of words with similar denotations. You have already encountered some of these words. So you're going to put the literal definition here, and I'm going to, oh, whoops, I'm still on the wrong thing. I'm going to type literal definition underneath denotation so that you remember that. And then under connotation, it's like the feelings associated with that word. So like the feeling definition. So for example, odor might mean the same thing as smell, but there could be good smells and bad smells. But have you ever heard of a good odor? To us, that doesn't make sense because odor has a negative connotation. It means something stinks. So the denotation would be like a scent or a smell, but the connotation would be that it's stinky. So the feeling definition that goes along with the words. Now, Here at the bottom, we have a section on language and writer's craft, verbals. So this is the grammar part. This is actually really easy to understand, so I'm going to explain it, and I'm going to type a few notes over here so that you can see. So a verbal is a type of verb that functions as something other than a verb, so like a noun, an adjective, or an adverb. That might not make a whole lot of sense, but when we look at it, it actually is easy to explain. So an infinitive is the to plus a verb. So for example, to run. In a sentence, I like to run, the infinitive is to run. And what it's doing is it's telling us what we like. So the verb in the sentence is actually like. That's our main verb that's supporting our subject. And then to run is our verbal, okay? Here we have participle. Now a participle can end in ing if it's present or ed if it's past. So an example would be, or this is to when it's used as an adjective, okay? So an example would be the giggling girl opened her present. Another example would be the present destroyed by the girl lay on the floor. So here I've used the ing version, and it's an adjective describing girl. And here I'm using the ed version, and it's used to describe present. Okay. And then last but not least, we have gerunds, which are when verbs end in ing, but they're acting as nouns. So an example would be I like swimming. In this case, the gerund is swimming. It describes something that we like to do. It's an action. So here we have the giggling child made lots of noise, where it's a participle. So where giggling is describing child, but here we have his giggling was distracting, meaning like the giggling that he was making, his giggling. So what you're going to do is look for two sentences you could revise by using verbals in your question number 7. That's what it wants you to do to practice, all right? So then for the check your understanding section, it wants you to reread Made You Laugh, which is the essay that you read, and write a paragraph, one paragraph, summarizing the author's arguments about what makes things funny. So that's fairly easy to do. You could do that here in the notes section. And then last but not least, you're to create a detailed paragraph that uses precise diction, that means word choice, to explain your sense of humor. Use at least 2 words each from the words to describe humor and words to describe a response to humor charts. Explain what does and does not make you laugh and how you typically respond to humorous texts. Be sure to begin with a clear thesis statement explaining your sense of humor. That's like a topic sentence basically, except with details. Include some specific examples of things that make you laugh, and then use at least 1 infinitive, 1 participle, and 1 gerund. Last but not least, use verb tenses correctly and consistently, meaning you always stick in either present tense, past tense, whatever you're using. Feel free to write it here underneath. There's plenty of room for a paragraph as long as you don't make your font too big. And then that's end of 4.2. I'll see you for our next video in activity 4.3. Thanks for watching.